Hey, what's up, guys? I might have mentioned in the last video, which I think YouTube pulled down for violating their counterfeit policy. Live and learn, I guess. But I think I mentioned I had something else cooking. This kit was in the mail at the time, traveling across the ocean. Yet again, something I never knew existed. Even though I kind of feel like some of you guys maybe have mentioned it before. I just don't recall ever seeing one. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how rare this thing is or isn't. Don't know much about it, but I know it's AYK. This thing is legit as far as I know. I say that, but I'm not totally certain. That's the rear end of the car. This is a two-wheel drive version of an AYK Radiant. So the front end is pretty different. It's got some really long shocks and some, like long travel front suspension. You can see how the front tires are kind of splayed out like that. The rear end looks a lot like the Radiant. As I mentioned, you just don't have the chain that runs the full length of the car or the front differential, but otherwise this is basically that car. The chassis is different. We'll open it up here and have a look, or at least at the instruction manual. Can't see much detail about the chassis on the box cover, but we'll pull out the instruction sheet you got here. Yeah, all that looks familiar. Let's kind of skip to the part where you're able to see what the chassis is going to look like. It's like a double deck job. Yeah, the front suspension is a little different for sure, but cool. And you can see, for anyone with a Radiant, you can see that looks a little familiar there. Also the rear shock tower. Alright, so that's what the overall chassis looks like. You got places for servos in the upper deck, which again the Radiant has as well. But yeah, this whole chain drive gearbox should look familiar. Also the the arms and the linkages and all that stuff. It's from a Radiant. All these rod ends, definitely familiar. This is called the ASCAR, which is kind of a funny name. Shocks, same black shocks that are, I believe, kind of notorious for not being that great even when new, and also leaking out all over the cars on the shelf below it. The most notable thing for me for this kit is that it came with a 380 motor. Like, it's a small motor. It says it's 1/10 scale, but that seems like the size motor you might find in like a 1/12 scale car. I know this is probably ends up being a pretty light kit, and the drivetrain components aren't, you know, maybe strong enough to tolerate a 540. That said, it is a chain, and the sprockets are metal, so I don't know why they went with that. Maybe to save weight in the back because it's two-wheel drive, or because it's fast enough. I don't know. Don't know anything about this car. Servo layout. ESC looks similar to the one that probably came with the Radiant as well. The body is definitely unique. Kind of looks like a squatty Kyosho Salute, maybe. Like a bug, like a 80s or 90s 16-bit shooter spaceship you might see. There's the overall car, which, dude, that thing just looks awesome. I don't know that I'll build the car, but not because it doesn't look cool as hell, because that really does. I love the front end. It just looks pretty fragile, I have to say. But yeah, let me get the box open. Oh yes. Okay. I think we went around already. Yeah, we went around the box. One of the pictures on the eBay auction kind of made it look like these front tires were like the profile looked like this. You could see that, but it sort of led me to believe that these tires were like way thicker in the front than they actually are. I mean, this is standard, but one of the pictures just sort of misled me, and I was wondering, I was a little curious about that before I received it, to see like, wow, would they really put big fat rib tires on a kit like that? But they didn't. You can see the plastic bushings in the kit. Okay. You get the bag of goodies here, which I think is got some of the steering linkages and all that. Again, that size 380 motor, and the ESC is in there, and maybe some what do you call that? Not real sure. Body posts, perhaps. Okay, move on. This looks like you get shock bodies, all the shock parts, shock shafts, some drivetrain components, to plastic spur gear. You know, it's probably the same one that comes with the Radiant. The diff is definitely taken directly from the Radiant. It's got 2 sprockets on it. I believe the number of teeth are different. on those sprockets, but there's probably a certain way they want you to orient that. You don't need both sprockets, of course, because you just have the single chain, like a brass or bronze sprocket, and same for the pinion. You got your spur gear cover in there. Yeah, various hardware. The body, pretty narrow. I'm not gonna peel this film off, so I'll never get it back on there. Not that it's on there very good to begin with, but it is different for sure. Okay, it feels pretty rigid, like it's not super thin or flimsy anywhere. Looks like it would hold up pretty good. Rear wheels and tires. I don't know if these big knobby ones are borrowed from any of their other cars. Maybe like they got several cars I can never keep the name straight, like Buffalo or shit. I don't know. I don't have any of those, so I think these are borrowed from one of their cars that came out around this same time. Very cool. Kind of reminds me of an RC10 rear tire a little bit. I wish I could smell inside that bag, but I can't. All right. What we got there? Screw bag. Screws and nuts, body clips, that sort of thing, hardware. This is all the metal chassis parts and shock towers. Yeah, this is not how a Radiant is at all, but some of these little rear gearbox, we call it a gearbox, drivetrain box or whatever, does look like the back part, the back end of a Radiant chassis rail or whatever. Yeah, you got your upper deck and your lower deck, and that's part of your front suspension, I believe. Well, I don't know for sure, but anyways, very cool. I guess you got your antenna aerial. Decals, ASCAR, AYK. Say anything about, there's no motor sticker per se, but 7.2, 1200 milliamp hour. Wow, Nikon. Yeah, you didn't get a whole lot of runtime, although with that smaller motor you might. All right, so that's basically the car. As for whether or not I'm gonna build it, I really don't think so. I wasn't sure before I got the kit whether I was gonna build it or not, but definitely after having seen it in person, you know, if you're familiar at all with the Radiant, like, you know that some of those lower suspension arm mounts on the car are known to crack when you run that hinge pin through it. I don't want to take a brand new kit and just for the sake of putting it together crack all these delicate parts just so I can sit the car on the shelf. But that's how I feel about it right now. That could change if I got really bored at some point. Who knows what could happen. But yeah, this is just another, for me anyways, unique find. And I was just really curious to see it in person and thought you guys might enjoy seeing it as well. So that's that. That is a 2-wheel drive AYK ASCAR. And there you have it. I'm going to not ever mention the C word again, so as not to get any of these videos taken down. I think that is just completely random that they happen to see what that was. I didn't really know that was their policy on things. You know, you would think that with all the videos that have to do with game emulation and this and that, like, I didn't realize they'd go after a video with such low views. You know, who knows? Maybe it got flagged by someone. I have no idea. But anyways, that's that. And there'll be more videos to follow, I'm sure. Until then, you guys take care. Talk to you soon.